fan of this guy.
Who isn't, though, right?
Well, there's a woman in Cincinnati.
Oh, okay.
No.
That one.
Dennis Haysbert is here. He's on the new Fox series Backstrom, where he plays a detective working with an eccentric colleague. Eccentric?
Is that what
Obnoxious, antisocial,
Rude.
but brilliant colleague played by Rainn Wilson.
You put yourself on camera.
Otherwise, the cultists could falsely accuse me of trespassing. And no, you can't have it.
Ma'am, we can get a warrant. Or you can console yourself with the possibility that by viewing your holy works, that sinner will find his way to the Lord. And we are very sorry for your grievous loss.
Screw it.
By the power vested in me by the state of Oregon, I'm confiscating this evidence.
Hey, you come back here with that!
Well, those are two different approaches.
Yes, I take the pastoral approach.
Well, you're a detective. You're also a preacher.
Preacher, yes.
And in watching the show, you ask yourself the question, was he a preacher who became a detective? Or did the world that he saw as a detective lead him to preach?
Well, that's the choice I made. He was a detective that became a preacher.
Mm-hmm. Because of experience in the world?
Because of experiences in the world. I also play him with a military background, which I promised. I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan 5 times.
Oh.
Really?
And I visited the troops all those times. I'm about to take my 3rd trip with the Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And whenever possible, I give my characters a military background.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, you were in the unit.
I was in a unit, yeah.
And so you didn't have to give it a military background.
Well, that's when I really got
Yeah.
into it, because I started going over to Iraq and Afghanistan when I was doing the unit. And it actually helped me perform that character. And it also, helped me bring awareness back home to, what was going on with the guys.
And what does it mean to those guys? I mean, what do they say to you when they realize that that's what you're doing or that you've taken a little bit?
They love it. I mean, of course they love the unit. And I, on my Facebook all the time, they're asking, when are you going to bring it back? When are you going to bring it back? So David, I want to talk to David Mamet and say, see if we can do a movie or something.
You said, David, would you want to do a movie?
David, like that. Actually, I would like to bring him on, on this show.
Sure. Yeah, we can do some Mametian dialogue here.
That's
It would
right.
be a lot of fun. I want to talk about your voice for a moment because it is
Sure.
the thing that jumps out with everybody. And, of course, the commercials for Allstate through the years. Does it ever get in the way of playing certain roles or being cast because it's so big and powerful?
No, but I can also temper it. I can do
It's called acting.
It's called acting, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done, what people, I think, forget is that I've done a lot of romantic leads. Well, not a lot, but 2 very significant romantic
You
leads.
did a very important movie, and I'm going to get the name wrong. It's the Todd Haynes movie called
Far From Heaven.
Far From Heaven.
Yeah, Love Field.
Which was, and Love Field, yeah. Those are 2 very significant movies. But isn't it interesting, I would think when people see you, they don't respond to those movies. They respond to...
It depends on who it is. I mean, a lot of women respond to those movies.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But also a lot of women respond to, the authoritarian women.
Right.
Authoritarian
The
characters.
figures, yeah. But there's also that other thing, those of us who first really got to know you in Major League.
Yes.
That's entirely, for folks who haven't seen
And I
it,
can be funny.
explain that character.
Wow, Pedro, which incidentally we had our 25th anniversary of that movie last year.
Wow. Okay.
Did you guys all get together, or
What? I saw Tom, but no, we didn't all get together. But we all did different, talk shows and things like that, supporting it. But that character was
Pedro Serrano.
Pedro
right?
Serrano was just an incredible character. They based it on Pedro Guerrero, who was a very
goodness, wow.
famous Dodger.
Yeah.
And I remember asking, it was a friend of mine, Steve Gagnon, had told me about the audition. And I went to my agents and I said, look, there's this Cuban baseball player that I want to go and read for. He said, well, Dennis, you're not Mexican. I said, they're black Mexicans. There's black Cubans. Get me in there. So I went in and I read for it, and I created that prayer.
Really?
Yeah, the one in front of his locker.
Well, of course.
Oh, Joe Bully, ayúdame en este momento para que tengas el poder para conquistar el cuerpo.
El cuerpo.
Te daré para siempre poderoso.
Even after all these years, right?
I'll never forget that.
Why do I feel like, in fact, today I look like Bob Uecker when I talk to you, right?
He was, I tell you, he's hands down the funniest guy in the world.
Funniest guy, it just rolls out. It just
Yes.
rolls out of his mouth.
So,
Now, yes.
I was going to say, so in addition to Backstrom, you have another whole different challenge that you're taking on. You've never done a
Horror movie.
before, right?
Yeah, Dead Rising coming out, and Ted 2, you know.
What? Do you ever get a break?
I don't want a break. I've had enough breaks.
Yeah.
Those
weren't breaks.
I'm a workaholic in a business that's not conducive to workaholics.
But you
Right,
always work,
but
yeah.
if you don't work, I've talked to some of the most famous actors in history. There's always the fear that the phone won't ring.
Yeah.
So keep
Yeah.
working.
Keep working. I mean, even the most secure actor is insecure about what's next. You know, I'm always in the moment in what I'm doing, but once that's over, okay, I'm moving on.
What's the next?
It's hard to
Well,
perceive him as insecure.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Do you sing? I don't know. Do you sing?
I do.
Do you just?
I
Have you
do.
ever?
As a matter of fact, I'm going to start singing and doing spoken word very soon.
Oh.
You
very
say that
soon.
with a little smile on your face, like there's a little bit.
There's another little avenue that I'm about to go into in my work.
What made you? There was a point in your lifetime, you're a big, strong guy, you get an athletic scholarship, and you chose acting. What was that moment for you?
Actually, that moment for me came when I was like 10 years old.
Really?
I loved movies, and it turned out that the movies I loved turned out to be classics. Now, I didn't think of them in terms of classics. I just
good.
saw who I liked. And among the athletes that I would have on my wall, I had 3 actors on my wall. I had Brando, Olivier, and Poitier.
You were not a teen idol guy, were you?
No,
You
I
were-
just,
you-
I mean, when I saw Streetcar, and I said, who is this guy? I mean, it was something just so real about it. I thought I was watching somebody that was actually going through what he was going through. And Sidney Poitier, I mean, the courage that he had.
It was more than his roles.
Yeah.
I think it's the first interview that you've done in a long time where we didn't mention that you're responsible for President Obama, and we're getting through the interview without doing that.
Oh,
Okay. But
Sort
without
of.
you,
I do what I can.
you do what you can. Great to see you again. Thank you so much.
Backstrom airs tonight at 9 on Fox. We just need more of you in the show. That's all. Can we?
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Make a call.
Well,